Do you know what's weird? I came to Youngstown, Ohio from Burlington County, New Jersey. It's weird, right? I went to high school down the street, but not like, you know, down the street, like just down the street. Down the street was where I was working at an IHOP. It started with me leaving my cousin's house. Cousins, I think we went through this. I left. I got a room in Atlantic City for $600 or so, something like that. And then I rode the bus back because I was only going down there for the room, to be honest, like the price of the room. And so I realized it was like the same cost. I was like, so stupid. In a way, yes and no. I really just barred myself in the room and just minded my own business because I don't know what people think shelter is or isn't, but it's like a requirement to survival. So I ride the bus back and I end up going to, I think, Maple Shade. These people are so ignorant. They are lucky that I am not one of the others, which is what I think they were aware of, which is why I think they harassed me, because they think they're pumping chest at their problem, when really they're just fueling the fire. Not in me, but in their issues that always plague these types of places. You know, to me, that's like a last resort for shelter. Literally. It's a last resort. And it's not because I'm claiming you guys are dirty or, you know, the place is dirty. I'm not a disgusting human being. I go from Maple Shade to, well, the one side of Maple Shade to, let me think. I don't know if I went directly. I think for a hot minute, I ended up on the street for like a night because I was waiting for my check to clear. Something like that. Because regardless, to live in a motel hotel is not cheap. Nor is it an option that I wanted or want. No, like, I don't think they hold any offense to that. But it's expensive. It's not funny. And you don't have a stove. Or a large fridge. So it's very not cost effective. It's not good for your health. Not so much. So somewhere in between, I'm trying to think of all the places that I was in. So anyway, I was like on the street for like a night, and I think like this is not a trick of a trade or something that I think is okay. Obviously it's not okay. Sometimes the SEPTA lets you do it, sometimes they don't. But I'm a woman, I'm a little tiny woman. I needed safety. I didn't mean to like fall asleep. I've done it before though, fall asleep on the SEPTA by accident. It's a lot safer. You have a camera on there, just to mind you. I'm not trying to loiter, but I'm also not trying to be out anywhere in particular and end up dead on the street, or, you know, dead anywhere else. So I was out for like a night. I was not drinking. I drink on my own, like in my room and stuff like that. But I don't end up getting employment unless I have to, due to the fact that my check doesn't carry me a full month. But it's okay that we all know you guys are trying to kill me, and the fact that you guys all want addict excuses and excuses for relapse and everything else like that is fine. We know guys, we know you don't understand medicine. We know you guys don't understand what I'm physically going through. It's great. That's great. Say your normal crap. That's fine. You're entitled to your ignorant opinion. It's not our fault. That's why I put my MRI out there. Okay, very cute. A blood thinner would kill me. Nice try, assholes. Try again. Seizure medication side effects. I have other physical issues. Again, you will kill me. Alcohol is technically the safest, just as long as I do not go out of control. Honestly, that's what these people did to me. Physically screwed my body so badly that an actual prescription medication made properly for a healthy human being with only one isolated issue can save them but kill me. It's real nice. All because they thought it meant an excuse for themselves to use and drink. Very cute. Not cute to me. I'm not jealous of you, but I am pissed off that you guys are that stupid. You're making yourselves look dumb by trying to argue things you guys don't understand, by trying to argue things that you don't even get. Is against it's contradicting your own apparent point. You guys are idiotic. But anyway, I ended up in a room where I tried to get a job in the area, and I walked there. And most motels and hotels are around enough stuff like a convenience store, shopping centers, and everything else like that, that I was able to walk somewhere. And I applied to a few places, and I had an interview at a movie theater, and I already knew going into that interview, I was like, it's not that I don't want the job, I was like, I'm already anxious. I was like, this is the worst situation. But I went through the interview, obviously, because I needed the job, and I did not get it. I was like, okay, fine. So I left, and I ended up getting a room in Burlington County down the street, which was not fully down the street. I think it's like a 10 to less than 15-minute drive from the high school that I graduated from. And one second, please. On some side note, radio transmissions of idiotic comments that make me laugh. So what was it? All right, so that's where I was. I'm pretty sure right after that location. I applied to a bunch of restaurants, applied to whatever else, and I ended up getting 2 interviews, and they were within the same time period. And I didn't want to. Okay, so I accepted the first interview because it automatically put me through. And it was after an interview that I set up, because I got the interview before I scheduled the original one, but I could go before the original interview. So I went, and I ended up getting the job, but I went to the other interview because I didn't want to sever that opportunity. So I'm there, and I'm waitressing, and I'm paying for the room, and it's like seriously stressful because I couldn't make X amount of money over what I have as income, or I would lose that income. And then if I went down at work physically in a way that I ended up not able to work, then I wouldn't have that like financial security in what's physically wrong, and I would be worse off than whatever. So I follow the law to have what I have because I need it. And I did more than pay into it and everything. So like, you guys are real cute. By the way, you guys are trying to tear it apart. It will not be there for you. I think it should be optional to pay into it, and then do not make it available to them. That's my opinion. Especially because before I turned 18 years old, I made a whole crap ton of money that was stolen from me. So essentially, I've paid more into taxes and into the country than anybody can even attempt to claim. And I'm living far less than anyone else, so I would shut up. Is kind of everybody else's point too, on the good side of this situation. So I'm waitressing and it's really stressful, and sometimes those places tend to get really ignorant with you for no reason. I'm not ignorant, you know, I take care of myself, but if there is something wrong, like there was some damage to the room that I identified immediately, because I didn't want to be charged my deposit for the room, and even so, they can still charge you the deposit after the fact. And I was like, no. I was like, first of all, I'm here respecting the property. I'm not a psycho. I was like, I'm working. I don't have time for this crap. And I meant it. I'm not sure they knew that. So whatever I do in my personal time, right, is my own personal, like, choice. As in, I'm an adult that you don't have the right to attempt to control. Now, if I utilize the property management properly and tell you my personal situation, that is not a problem on your property, because usually you have drug dealers, prostitutes, which is not me, drug addicts, and, you know, ultimately criminals, all up in your spot. They're my problem in one way, you. You sometimes, not always, because I've met a lot of good ones. I've met a lot of good inns and a lot of good people. Like inns, suites, motels, hotels, because that is my last option, not because I don't appreciate the fact that you're there, okay, but because I deserved to be what I'm sitting in. That the inns initially in that area specifically tried to screw me over with my job, so the other location that I did not sever ties with, it did not matter. I had to disclose a situation to them that they were aware of, that they allowed to occur, that they attempted to harass me with, that I also brought the authorities into. In one way, I said, I'm being stalked and I need it known, and they're being inappropriate with me. And I had to ask an officer why there were people here, not professionally, but here for extended periods of time at your own discretion, when I'm not your issue, and you are by law allowed to extend past 2 weeks, past a month, and have someone there who's paying for themselves properly. If you are management and you do not understand, let me help you out on a professional level. If I am the patron and I am personally paying for the booking, and you think to pump your dick or your chest in my direction, and I am not your problem, you just fueled your own fire in the problems you allow on your property. Not because you took it out on me that they're your issue, but because you thought to allow your issue in place of somebody that literally was there. I know I love that word, literally. I was there, respectably, that caused people in the world to assume, and I apologize because I must have been the only one, that your properties were worth being on and in. And that's where your advertisements came from. Not from me personally, but a group of people assuming that it was worth the advertisement based on the fact that I was utilizing what you guys do not understand properly and appropriately. Because my own choice as an adult not to prostitute, but to date, is my own business, is my own personal life. But accusing me and causing me issues in the middle of what you're allowing on the property, not with me, but with others, is a bad excuse to assume that me getting the authorities involved just to identify what the situation doesn't cover me and you, you're wrong. And to tell you that I'm saying nobody should go near my room unless they are checking in with me, as in I'm bringing them to your desk in respect to your position. You don't even understand how high class inns, more than inns, hotels, and I'm sure there's better vocabulary here, but you guys don't even understand how to manage your own properties and how to respect and understand how to provide service to your patrons, and that is exactly why you are all stuck where you are. Now, it doesn't matter, because you could just throw a bunch of drug addicts and drug dealers and prostitutes in there and then get paid on the side and steal from people like me, I guess. Right? And then I come to Youngstown, Ohio, respectably, with an apparent military soldier who claimed that they just wanted to help get me out of that situation as they had witnessed it in some way. Get to a better situation on my feet. So I leave, okay? I take it for face value and I leave. And I come to Youngstown, Ohio, just randomly. And I'm in this individual's home for, with the individual. I'm cooking, I'm cleaning. We agreed upon $300 or so for only one reason. Because I didn't want to be there without something like that. Now, the whole time that I was with this individual, I had identified to EBT, not to tell them what to do, but just to identify with my situation and just give them a heads up. Like, they could tell me if it's wrong or if it's unacceptable. That is at their discretion. But I used my EBT to buy all the food. And more than my EBT, which they knew I had an OTC credit, which a lot of people do, that don't have to pay, that don't have private health insurance. So if you have state insurance, if you have Medicaid, Medicare, you have an OTC credit for food. You all do. Depending on how your plan is set up, it's a different amount of money. So I was doing that, buying the food, and when I stayed behind, because I said I wanted to get a job, after I had traveled with the individual that did not tell me whether it was or wasn't okay, but their boss obviously was okay with it because I had met them respectably, was not sleeping with this individual in place of what you guys assume I was doing, which most of you do that I don't find acceptable. I was clear. And I am clear. I don't want to be touched. And I do not want to have sex with you. That's not my pursuit, and that's not what I'm on. And they apparently were more than okay with that. Until they weren't. We were in an inn, but inns seem to assume that when you're there, even for extended stays, they can treat you like shit, although your extended stay is guaranteed money. I did and I didn't mind doing this, and I was not there for free, okay? And it was not sex. Cooking and cleaning in the inn for him, doing his laundry, which I did not mind, as I didn't want to have sex. And I did not have the money to just shell out anything. So I stay behind and I get a job. And mind you, this whole situation is very awkward because I do have HIPAA rights and HIPAA, there are HIPAA laws. But I have to apparently disclose what's physically wrong with me because I am being harassed. And more than harassed, they are physically trying to hurt me because they think it's a joke. So I get a job and I'm cleaning the house and I'm taking care of it and I'm stopping there. Let me use his car or truck to get back and forth. I would stop there during my lunch so I can check on the home. As I was there, I was paying the utilities, except the one I could not pay because I guess they consider it like a third-party payment, so I could not pay that one. I saved as much as I needed and as much as came in so I could get my own apartment because I did not want to live under somebody else's roof that assumed that I am their property. I'm going to work, minding my own business, living in my own space, paying my own bills, not doing a thing wrong, and I leave my job, and I think you know why now. Because other than the physical that I can deal with to some extent, I needed short shifts, or I needed the same shift, but with the same breaks so that I can relax physically and set my mental in a place that I can deal with my physical. But apparently that location thinks it's a joke, as this place as well, as the same situation is occurring, not because I am the issue, but because everybody loves to be paid off by their issues. I wonder if it pays now.